Right. So good morning, good afternoon. My name is Antonella Sanguineti. I work in Sparkle. Sparkle is a global service provider. We provide connectivity and cloud security services worldwide, both wholesale and enterprise business. And I'm responsible in Sparkle of the product management, the marketing and product management team for the enterprise business.
Okay, Darius, I'm going to hand over to you now as you're moderating this panel. Welcome. I'll get out of your way. Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks, Annie. So, Antonella, it sounds like you've gone through the intros. So if we go
only Antonella.
Just me. Just me.
Perfect. So, Carolina, I don't know if you want to go next.
Yes. Thank you, Darius. I'm Carolina García. I'm working at Global CTIO at Telefónica, and I'm responsible for AI research and defining AI strategy in our program of autonomous network.
Perfect. And Inês?
Inês Ferreira from MEO, the major telecom operator in Portugal, and I work in B2B product, being responsible for what we call ICT, that involves IoT, data centers, cybersecurity, and also new business streams like the network APIs.
Perfect. And I'm Darius. I'm one of the consulting directors at STL Partners. We're a boutique research and consulting firm focused on the telecoms industry, and we've been doing a lot of work over the past kind of almost 15 or 16 years on NAS, APIs, and telco as a platform. So this is a great panel discussion. We're looking at network APIs, the new platform-based operational and business models. And so hopefully, this will be an interesting session with a few varied views from across a few different roles within the telco space. So look, wanted to kick off a little bit when we talk about platform-based operational models, platform-based business models. What does that really mean to you? How do you define this idea of as a platform? And Antonella, I thought we could start with you from kind of that wholesale-driven view. What does as a platform really mean?
So when thinking about telcos as a platform, I think about telcos as enablers. Because especially in recent years, we have been used to think about telcos as a commodity, just a connectivity given almost for free, given for granted, while telco as a platform means a paradigm shift from being just a connectivity provider to be service providers. Service mainly value-added components that enable our enterprises or other partners to create value on their own through our assets. So it's really a paradigm shift. Then it has a different terminology. We can think about a network as a service. We can think about application-aware telcos. But that's, to me, is the concept. Shifting completely approach from being just a delivery provider to be value provider for our customers.
That makes a lot of sense. And I was interested in, and Carolina, your view here, because you're coming at it from the AI and automation program side of things. So do you have a different view, or does it align with Antonella's around what telco as a platform could really mean for you and for Telefónica?
Maybe I have a complementary vision that, because for example, in our program, Autonomous Network, we are evolving the network, the network component, the technology, to be more open, more cloud native, more API, and giving a set of capabilities to an upper layer that we are building, that is an automation platform, an AI and automation platform, where this platform are included all the OSS, the systems that are managing the network, also all the infrastructure and all the components for data management and data governance, and also all the tools, frameworks, etc., for implementing AI solutions. This platform, that is something like an intermediate platform for managing the network, provide a set of capabilities to a next layer that is related to the processes for managing the network, from planning, testing, deployment, operations, optimization, etc. And this automation platform gives to this layer of processes the capabilities for programming the network and programming and improve all those processes. And well, we have another layer more related to people and methodologies, new skills and new roles that we need for this operating model. And always we are taking into account that all of that is customer-centric, sustainable, and secure by design. And with all this, we can expose a set of capabilities also to another platform that we have, the kernel, the case of Telefónica, that is exposing capabilities, network capabilities for building new services.
That makes sense. But I guess essential in both those views is the programmability of the network. And in both cases, it's about understanding, can you expose that either internally to drive automation with other business units, observability with other business units, or of course, as you mentioned, through Camara with Telefónica, and through, I think, Antonella, you mentioned before, you're working more on the operational APIs in MEF. How do you expose that into business or into developers, into enterprises, so that they have more observability and control of the network as well? And Inês, just to kind of complete the idea of what does it really mean to you when we talk about platform? If you could give a bit of an overview from the MEO perspective, and is it complementary? Is there any differences?
No, actually, in MEO, so we are very much aligned with the Telefónica and also with the view of Antonella. So as a platform, network as a platform, or telco as a platform, is an opportunity for telcos to move from just connectivity providers to being enablers of innovation, of cloud software development. And the way we see it is that this is gaining some momentum now, because we are in a perfect technological storm. We have 5G that allows ubiquitous connectivity with very, very low latency and high velocity, with AI that requires huge data processing also in real time. And we see the demand growing for also real-time and personalized content. We are talking about AR, VR, gaming, streaming, even drones management. And all of these will only be possible if we telecom operators will expose and make available our network capabilities in a different way. And the way we are working in MEO, and I know that Telefónica also and many others all over the world, is adopting the GSMA Open Gateway and Camara initiative. So we are exposing our network capabilities in a standard way that allows developers, companies, governments, everyone to integrate our advanced capabilities. Could be location, could be latency, velocity, whatever it is, in their own applications, making them more secure or more reliable, or providing a better user experience.
No, perfect. And there were actually two words or phrases that you used in that answer that I thought would be interesting to pick up on. One was when you were talking about kind of exposure and network APIs, I suppose, and the exposure of programmable networks. You used the term opportunity for telcos. So I wanted to kind of pick up on why you feel that's a big opportunity, because there are some operators that are still a bit hesitant about the business case for some of the network APIs opportunities. So I think it'd be interesting to double click on that as part of the panel discussion. And the other part was, you mentioned that now is the right time. There's technology that we have, right? We've got 5G in 5G SA in some markets, still 5G NSA in others. There's more from the tailwinds perspective. There's maybe more cloud infrastructure. There's more dynamism just naturally in some of those models. So I'd be interested to pick up, I guess, on that side as well, because there are some cynics, let's say, that would say with Parlay X, with One API, with Bluevia, this has been tried in the industry before. So maybe, Inês, if I stay with you just to talk a little bit about the drivers, why is this an opportunity? And then Antonella, I may come to you to talk a little bit about, why now, I suppose, from the technology perspective.
Yeah. Let me say, Darius, that I understand the ones that are more reticent regarding the opportunity, and we can talk also about the challenge afterwards. But as we see it, nowadays we have the industry coming up with a standard. So it's an opportunity to say to everyone who wants to enhance their applications and to integrate our advanced capabilities, to explain, look, now you have the opportunity to have something that is more secure and that works all over the world the same way. It's very easy. With one API, you can access operators all over the world. You don't have to understand, developers don't have to understand the complexity of our telecommunication protocols, and so it's easier for them. And as I explained, I think that nowadays, from the demand, we will see more and more enhanced requests. And from the networks, now we have, for everything that Carolina and Antonella explained, now we have networks that are more and more prepared to become a very useful resource of the digital application. So it's not just they don't use just cloud and other development resources. The network and the connectivity resource will become part of the modern application. So we really believe this is opportunity. Of course, that the market needs to move in that direction, but we need also, when I talk market, also regarding the operators, but we can discuss a little bit more the challenge after that.
Sure. We'll come on to that later, I'm sure, and I can see a few questions coming in the chat that might be relevant for that as well. But Antonella, coming to you on the kind of technology tailwinds, why is now a good time?
Yeah. So I would have answered talking about now because there is opportunities, because it's a perfect moment in which we have the demand from the market, applications, customers are really asking for consuming the network in a different way than they did before. So there is really a need that telcos has to fulfill. And on the other hand, the perfect matching with telcos that need to change something in the way they streamline the processes in order to be more efficient. And of course, to be sustainable companies. So I would have started with the opportunities that is the trigger of every change. Then, Sparkle is part of MEF, so is very active in defining, the merely standard NAS platform. Then there is now, I think, a high level of maturity. Inês was mentioning this of the APIs, of maturity and awareness of the need for standardized and interoperable APIs. So there are not many, some entities providing standards on APIs. There is Camara, there is TMF, there is MEF. But I see now a lot of maturity in the number of APIs and in the use cases that they want to cover. And also a lot of a good governance among the bodies that standardize the APIs. I was looking in preparation of this call, the first agreement between MEF and TMF, just to make an example, is dated 2013. So it's more than 10 years that the two standardization bodies work together to synergize among the APIs. And I think we have reached a level of interoperability and common governance that allows really this end end-to-end to happen. Then going back to Inês' case, of course, the camera and the mobile world is, the fastest one because, it's the one that is more connected to the end users as a center point. But then there is the full chain, supply chain of wireline operators. And what I see new now is that we, as a, let me say, fixed operator mainly, now have all the tools to enable this automation. So I think it's happening now because there is a need and there are the tools to make it happen.
And I want to come back to a point that you mentioned at the beginning of there, where you said you wanted to start with the opportunity and that there is demand. Where are you seeing, from the Sparkle perspective, some of that early demand? Because I think one of the things that makes some telcos hesitant is they want proof that there is demand. So it'd be really exciting to hear where you're seeing some early, customer stories or user stories or use cases.
Yeah, let's say like this. If I look at our enterprise customers, there are some of them that have been asking us features without knowing them in the past years. Customers asking the push button to send the order directly to the system without passing through the salesperson. This is one of the features of NAS, on-demand functionality. Or when they ask for temporary services, maybe internet access for 2 weeks. They don't know, but they didn't know at that time, but they were asking a feature of NAS. So we see more and more, especially big enterprises, that really want this kind of feature, and they're asking for them. But then mainly I see a big trend in our partners, because we need to remember that service providers don't work alone. In 99% of the cases, we need the ecosystem to move, to act, to provide an end-to-end service. Now, there is the access part, the core part, then maybe Sparkle doesn't reach all the locations, so we need another piece of another vendor. We need the security. So there is a full ecosystem that has to move. And I see there really a lot of demand by other partners to work with us through APIs. Through automated platforms. And we are one of them. We are asking for instance, access providers. Sparkle is a tier 1, so we typically leverage on third parties for the access part. And we are asking providers to talk to us through standardized APIs because we want to automate. And our NAS platform will not be 100% operative globally if we don't find local providers, for instance, that talk to us in an automated way. So I definitely see demand in enterprise and operators, and I definitely see a business case, a return investment of the big investment that, of course, the automated platform requires. It's not that it happens all at once. But if we don't move, the risk is that OTT and other players will play with that, and we just stay there and look. So it's better to act now and be part of the game rather than just neglecting that the need exists. Last point, AI agent, and all this movement to the edge that we are seeing with this AI architecture is triggering this even further, because now the AI agents really have a totally different way of consuming the network, much more dynamic, much more unpredictable. So either we are able to reply to this kind of demands by the technology, or we will be out. And Sparkle definitely wanted to be prime.
Yeah. I think that's such a good point. And in DTW Copenhagen last week or 2 weeks ago, there was quite a big amount of chat about A2A, agent-to-agent communication and ADKs, and will that remove the need for network APIs, or will it actually enhance the need and scale? And Carolina, I was wondering from your perspective, because obviously you're working very, very closely on the AI platform around Telefónica. What's your view for the role of AI here in either driving telco as a platform and NAS, or changing the nature, I suppose, as Antonella said, of how networks are ingested?
Yes, here in our case, we are AI and automation is a key aspect or key point in our evolution of our platform and our processes. Okay. We have a lot of use cases, maybe some of them built on traditional AI, machine learning, and so on. And we have different ways of implement, or we are implementing these solutions, some of them in-house, other co-creating with partners, and other we are buying the solution. And also we are thinking, or we know that it will be required AI solutions running at different points of the network. Okay, so one of the most important things here is having a common governance of all that. For the case of autonomous network, we are seeing that agentic AI could be the solution, but it's very, very important this common governance and standardize the way of building these agents. Okay, and for example, some maybe are not standards yet, but we are moving to a way of build these agents common in the communities of AI. Okay, and protocols as A2A, agent to agent, for interoperability between different agents, and MCP for connecting agents with data sources, with the tools or other APIs or other resources that we need. We think that could be a good solution for these first stages of standardization, the way of adopt AI in the network.
That makes sense. And we had a question here from Faith, which I think applies to this and some of the earlier conversations, part of the conversation. Kind of looking at when we talk about the standardization of APIs or even of agent protocols, there's obviously Kamara Open Gateway that we've mentioned, which looks at part of that northbound exposure. There's MEF, there's TMF, there was other MEF, which is now Amplify, looking at kind of supporting on some of this standardization. The question is, which organizations are really going to help drive interoperability, I suppose, around some of those standards and should be at the forefront of supporting on pushing those forward? Is it just those standards bodies, or are there other contributors that have to be active in this ecosystem? And I don't know, Antonella, if we start with you there.
I don't think, so to answer the first question, I don't think that there is one body that drives, because it depends on which portion of the network and which kind of relationships we are talking about. So whether it is inter vendor, inter operators, or within one's operator network, between OSS, BSS, or between enterprises and the network. So there are different network locations and segments where different APIs apply. So I don't think that there is really an overlap. It depends on what you're looking at, north, south, or east, west. But definitely, I see a lot of synergies between the three, and a lot of liaisons between among the different bodies. For instance, it was at Mobile World Congress that MEF demonstrated, an application where demo where through the mobile phone and the Kamara APIs, an end user was asking for a quality of service demand to two kind of operators. The first was a mobile one interpreting Kamara, and the second one was like Sparkle, interpreting the MEF APIs, and they worked perfectly. So there was a lot of synergies. This because the bodies are working together. TMF and MEF signed an agreement in 2024 to develop a common NAS framework, and they are debating where to position the different APIs where. So, and then to answer the question, who should drive, is only the standard bodies? In my opinion, no. There is the full ecosystem of users that really needed to try and fail and retry in order to give the feedbacks and really put in place use cases. And this is as we are working, at least in Sparkle with the other MEF members, we have working groups. We define the use cases, and we start from there to test and provide feedbacks to the standardization bodies. So it's a multi-factor. I really love the work ecosystem because there are the service providers, the vendors, the technology, the system integrators that are so important these days. So it's really a bundle of industries that needed to work together.
And I love what you said about, we've got to try and fail and try, right, as users and builders of this kind of work. And Inês, I know that you've been quite quick actually to move to, I think you said in our prep 7 kind of the Kamara APIs that you're launching, which again, to be frank, for some of the other mobile operators, they don't have, near 7. They've started with an early, number verify, SIM swap, maybe a couple, or as we've said, they're more hesitant. So, if you could talk a little bit about why you chose those 7, how you're thinking about that try and build back feedback and just get something into the market, I think that would be interesting for the audience.
Okay, what we did was we put up an innovation program where we put our API platform available for developers, companies, to integrate the APIs in existing applications or create stages of that integration. Exactly as Antonella explained, to put in practice this new kind of resource, to create market awareness, to test with our customers, to understand their needs. Is the latency of the API okay? It is not, the documentation. So to give more, to receive more inputs from the target. And yes, it was 7 APIs, but the topics were so the device identifier, okay, that gives device information like email. That is quite important, for instance, for secure mobile device authentication. Also the SIM swap, that show us if recently a phone number has got a change in the physical SIM card, and it is very, very important for fraud prevention. Also device location, that can be also used for fraud and for banking security, but also for all geographical location, everything that needs device location. And finally, quality on demand, okay, that is also important for using that premium network capabilities for all the use cases we have talked, like AR, VR, streaming, drones, so many use cases can benefit from it. We are already working on exposing more APIs. We know that number verification, for instance, is very important. We notice that we notice, and I believe that is common for the others, that the security and the anti-fraud prevention is driving at this point more and more the market. Although we see space, and I gave some examples, we see space for other use cases to emerge. Okay, but yes, we started and we decided to move immediately to an innovation program in order to test these capabilities and also create market awareness.
Perfect. And I think calling it an innovation capability again is quite important, because we do see some operators and they get a little bit stuck in a very product driven mindset where, okay, they get the resource and the energy of a product team within the telco, but then you need to build a business case per API with a guaranteed ROI over a 1, 2, 3 year period, and you get stuck not being able to innovate, and it's quite difficult to break that model. So it's interesting, from your perspective, you've just said we want to run an innovation program, let's test and see what we get back, and through that trial process, hopefully we'll get some learnings.
Exactly. And from what we have seen so far, okay, after we set up the platform with all the modules, the compliance, etc., adding new APIs, of course, that it differs a little bit from API to API, but adding one more API might not be so hard. Okay, it's not. So I think that it's the initial move. I hope I'm convincing some other operators, but it's the initial move. And then it's not. I don't think we should make business case per API. Okay, of course we need to prioritize, and that should be done ideally even across the country, even with other operators, because we benefit if all operators provide the same API. So Antonella just said that we have large companies, digital companies, retail companies that are logistic distribution that are interested in integrating our APIs. But of course, they will do it if in that country all the operators provide the same capabilities, because they don't want to differ their customer experience if they are a customer of Mel or other mobile operator in Portugal. So it's important to prioritize. What I was saying is that it's important to prioritize, of course, the APIs, but I don't believe in a business case for API. Okay.
Absolutely. It's more of a strategic shift. And as you say, getting over that initial activation energy or hurdle. And then there's a lot of opportunities and options. Just before I move on to discuss a little bit about some of the challenges for operators and the roadblocks to overcome around the platform model, we did have a question in from Hatem, which I think is for you, Carolina, which was looking more at AI use cases and trying to understand the amount of work or the amount of resource required for the operator team to actually build AI use cases that work in the network and move towards some of the AI and automation platform opportunities that you're discussing. So a question of, how do you build, I suppose, the skills and the investment resource to get that moving and motoring as well?
Yeah. For structure the AI adoption in the program of autonomous network, we have implemented a center of excellence of AI in each country. And the main objective of these centers of excellence is increase the autonomy level of the network in each country, and also provide a set of capabilities to technical teams for increase the AI adoption level. And we have 5 main pillars for that. First one related to AI value, and there we are working inventories of use cases, all the impact of each use case in business processes, and we are trying to measure or identify KPIs that we could improve with each of the use cases. All related with in some of the use cases, we are working something like a business case to measure these benefits. And the second pillar is more related to architecture, frameworks, tools, and the standardization of the way of build use cases and all the methodologies. Here also we have taken into account all requirements related to AI Act, with regulatory issues, with ethical principles, and so on. A third one is related to AI culture. There we have implemented different training initiatives for all the company at different levels, from people in business, but that with the objective that they have some concepts of AI and when AI could help in their the processes who they are owner. And and other more technical training courses for the people who is going to build the use cases. Another part is more related to research and innovation. We have specific groups that are testing different trials, POCs, etc., with new technologies and all the latest trends in AI. And they are very near the people, the business people, for identify these new opportunities of application of new technologies. And the last part is more related to partnership and alliances in the telco industry.
Right.
With other operators, providers, network providers, and integrators, and so on.
Right. I think you've raised some really critical barriers to overcome that you've been looking at from Telefónica. You raised regulatory and compliance, cultural challenges, technical challenges, partnership challenges, where through your model and your centers of excellence, you've been looking at how do you address that and how do you overcome. Antonella, if I come to you, picking up on a point that Inês made, which was, look, there's an activation energy here to get over an initial hump, and then you're kind of it should be easier and easier to onboard new APIs across some of those pillars that Carolina mentioned, cultural, regulatory, technical. Where do you feel like that initial headache comes from for telcos in this shift towards NAS and telco as a platform? What's the biggest barrier for them to overcome so that the next set become easier to deploy, if that makes sense?
I think as any change management is the initial understanding of the vision. Because you need to turn the full supply chain. It's not only about APIs. You need to change from the legal aspects. And so you need to convince all the departments that contribute to the supply chain of the single service. It's just to start. At least I shared Sparkle experience. I cannot say that we haven't had challenges, including investments that, of course, are required. But for us, it was easier because we had from the very beginning a clear vision about standardization, first of all. So when we first developed our first APIs, we had a very visionary product management head, which said, from now on, we do only standardized. And so we started having this standardization mindset that then helped us to when we needed to turn into automation, because at least the tools we already had. So the challenge is mainly to convince and a bit of awareness to convince the full organization to change mindset. Changing contracts is one of the most difficult things. Going to our very brilliant legal department that says, I need to change a contract so that there are not more any companies or human beings signing the document, but it will be a machine. That's a kind of change. But the sooner you do, the better it is, because then you discover such an important world outside the traditional way of doing things, and so many opportunities to monetize it, to add value. That's incredible.
No, absolutely. And I think one of the interesting strategic mindset shifts as well has to come not from legal and not just from technical or product, but actually from finance. The CFO has to also think differently about this as an opportunity, and the shift towards NAS is a financial thing as much as it is on the technical side. So if the CFO doesn't release budgets in different ways or doesn't think about how you create shareholder value in different ways, it's tough for operators to move towards that new model. So I'm conscious of time. We've got a couple of minutes left. What I did want to wrap up with was trying to think a little bit about the lessons for operators. If you had to leave them with a 1 minute, one-liner, what is the main takeaway? What's the learning for you in the shift towards NAS and kind of accelerating towards some of this telco as a platform? What would each of you say? So again, Antonella, if I start with you, because you were speaking last, what lesson would you give to the attendees of this call, I suppose, on how to move quicker?
Yeah, I would say follow the standardization discussions, be part of this discussion because they are very, very useful insights, and then create a small ecosystem and try. I repeat, this is the most important lesson we have had so far.
And Inês, on your side?
Yes, from my side, of course, there are some challenges. We have talked about some of them, but this is something that is platform. So it's quite an horizontal way to provide service, and it's something that telcos do very well. And it's also, we also have to think, okay, we have the investment, CFO must be okay with the investment, but we also have to think about the opportunity cost if we don't move. Antonella talked a little bit about it. We can be smashed by OTTs. So we have here an opportunity, and we have to be sure, of course, that we don't work alone. We will have to work in an ecosystem also with marketplace distributors, etc. We didn't talk very much about it, but we have to be in an ecosystem. But we have much more to gain because we have resources in the network that are very valuable to the digital world nowadays. So we really think we should move in this direction.
Perfect. And last but not least, Carolina.
Yes, well, from our point of view, we started the program in 2021, I think, and it was very hard at the beginning. But well, we now we know how we have to do the things, and well, the journey for increase our level of autonomy in the network. And well, we have the experience that we are increasing. Okay, we also have new use cases, level 4 in our case, that it's a great progress.
Perfect. Well, look, Carolina, Inês, Antonella, thanks a lot for your time. I think as a quick, summary, some of the key learnings for me were, you've got to embed that culture of trying and learning. You've got to see this as a strategic mindset shift and work within the standards and interoperability to try and make that happen. We've got to think ecosystem approach here. We can't do this all on our own, and that's a part of being a platform, is thinking about yourself as an enabler. And there are some early wins here and some early opportunities. So don't get left behind, I guess, by being hesitant. This is something that we've got to do, and there's an opportunity cost to not doing it. So look, really appreciate all of your thoughts and your time, and thanks again. And I'll hand back to you, Annie.
Thank you all. That was a terrific panel. Thank you very much indeed.